Alright, so we're going to be looking at black and white photography, and we're going to be seeing, and film, seeing how we can see lots of different elements to be able to make effects of everything. So we're making sure that our photographers, we can see that they can take into account of colour, line, space, form, texture and shape. And so all of these are considered when they look at photographs. So all the photographs you see, everything has been thought about. So today we're just going to be looking at black and white. So seeing how photographers working in black and white, how they aim to create the contrast in their photographs. And contrast is a dramatic difference between two opposite things. So for example, we've got black and white, smooth and rough, dark and light, sharp and blurred. We could have round and angular, lots of different things. So we're going to be looking at the photographs now, and they're the same photographs that you have on the sheet in front of you, and you're going to identify the most important visual elements, and you're also going to consider how the photographer has used contrast in the image. So remembering that there could be any of these things here for your photographs. I'll also pause the video so you can chat about it with your friends. So what is dramatically different here? So think about the colour, the line, the form, the space, the texture, the shape, and we'll pause the video here. Some of the things that you may have thought about is that the colour, obviously the black background, it contrasts with the white of the flower. So that's something that's different there. The shape, the organic shape of the flower contrasts with the geometric shape of the image. So the shape is square, or rectangle in this case, but square. And then the flower, of course, has its beautiful curves in there. It's beautiful. So also line, the linear nature of the flower subject, it actually divides this picture in half. So if you see there, it's like right down the middle, and it's got black space here, black space there. That's all been considered there. So the form, or the space, the 3D flower contrasts with the 2D background, of course, and texture, the textural elements of the flower. It's probably hard to see on the screen, but this is down here is like rough and hairy, and then we've got the flower smooth, the petals up here. Dramatically different, of course. Probably the most dramatic is probably what you saw is the colour. Now, having a look at this picture here. So once again, I'm going to pause the video. So the dramatic difference here is the trees are linear. So that just means we've got their lines. They've got lines everywhere. And the background, which is the sky, which you can see poking through, and is a series of shapes. So lots of shapes through there. All right, and the trees are dark, and the sky and ground are light. We can also see the shadow. So we can see this tree and shadows over here is quite dark, and that's what you see, the darkness and the light in there. This one's a nice one. Have a think about this one. We'll pause the video here. So what is dramatically different here? Obviously, you could have thought about that the cabbage leaf is round, but the picture is square. The lines, if you look at this, they're beautiful. Like we can see, like all of these, they look light, and then like the deep, I guess the cavities of where the leaves are, that's nice and deep. So that's very different there. Of course, when the leaves, actual leaf of it is dark colour, which certainly contrasts with the background, which is white. It's a little bit of the opposite of the first one that we saw. So, which is the background's black and the flower's white. And this one's the background's white, and it's All right. So I'll pause and think about here with your buddies. Do you think these photographs would be as effective in colour? Some of the things you may have spoken about would have been that they may not have been as effective. There would be some examples of contrast in each photo because they exist naturally, but the dominant example in each image is the difference between the black and white and the light and dark, so it may not have worked, be as effective in that case. Max Dupain, he's an Australian photographer. So this is his most well-known photograph, and it's said to capture the Australian experience of being at the beach. So Max Dupain, this photo was taken in 1937. So it's a long time ago. So we're going to be thinking of two questions. So the first question, how has Dupain used contrast in this photograph? So I'll pause that now. So some things you may have said is that the beach is light and the sunbaker is dark. The beach and the sky are angular and geometric. So they're two large rectangles. If you can see, like the sky is this rectangle here, and then the sand is this rectangle here. And so we've got the bather here, like he's got his organic shape, so it's nice and round, and like a person. So it's not angles, not angular. We've got the bather's right arm and his elbow. It's pointy here, and it's sharp looking as opposed to the rest of the body, which is round. So they've got sharp there, but that's round. So they're the contrasts. So the second question is, how does this photograph look different to some that you may have taken on a beach, like when you're at the beach? So I'll pause that there, you can talk about it. So some things you may have said is that the sunbather, he's not using any sun protection. Like we would usually have a hat or a rashies. You might not have thought of that one, but anyways, it's just something that you could think about. The sunbaker, he's not in the water, so he's on the sand. The sunbaker, it's taken from a low level, so the photographer is actually lying on the ground too. So you can see that, like this is the sand here, so it's at level with man lying down. So you just generally don't take photos like that on the photographs. I'm sorry, when you're at the beach. Why aren't we changing? Yeah, there we go. All right, so this is another one. So he also liked to photograph objects. So we're going to pause again. So think about what you can see in the photographs. So you may have read some of the words down here, but you can see that both of them are flowers. So obviously, I'm hoping that you did that. And this is the light of the moon as well. It's very beautiful. All right, and the last one that we're going to be looking at is somebody called Joachim Friis, I think is how you say his name. But having a think that there's four questions that you're going to answer. So what object has he photographed? Do photos also always show us reality? Can you see what's unusual in this composition? And also, what decisions has the photographer made when taking these photographs? So I'll pause it for a while now so you can answer those questions. So this the photographer, is he lives and works in Brisbane and Berlin, so he's a local person. He focuses mostly on still life, which is the objects. In this image, he's constructed the scene by photographing the eggs a number of times and then putting them back together in a triptych composition, which is just like the three different frames that we can see here. So if you look carefully, you can see that this image here has actually been flipped. So the egg in the middle is completed with two perfect halves. So you might notice that it has been flipped. You can see that there's those bits there. So if you have a look here at the shadows, have they fallen, you can see that they're inconsistent. So these ones are going, if we're thinking about the compass, like southeast, and these ones are kind of going northeast. So they're not the same. They're inconsistent. So that means we know that it's not a real image. We haven't just photographed it, and that's the picture there. So it's also to be thinking about how artists construct the image by making decisions about what you see. So they probably haven't really noticed, like, for you to look at the way the shadows go. So these are other artists that you might like to research at another time. So all of these different ones, they're all taking their photographs in black and white.